It's okay, you follow Jeff around. Jeff.
Okay, welcome everybody to the July 17th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you could please make sure your cell phones are either turned off or on vibrate. And also those who will be making public comment, please approach the podium and introduce yourself for the record when I indicate it's okay to do that. And with that, Jen, please read the first item on our agenda.
Number 26D, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Summit Engineering for engineering design of the Sun Valley and Kiwanis Park Greenway Connector, 2021 specific purpose option tax fund.
Staff report, please.
Hi, everyone. Jean Vetter, Parks and Greenway Planner. I apologize. I sound a little weird because I have a head cold, so I'm avoiding everyone. The purpose of this professional services agreement with Summit Engineering is to provide complete engineering design for future construction of the project. The contract amount is $108,085 and includes 100% construction plans and completion of all environmental work and surveys as required by the state and federal government to utilize federal transportation alternatives TAP funding for the project. The Sun Valley to Kiwanis Park connector will be approximately 2.4 miles and will run from the existing Greenway trailhead located south of the Sun Valley subdivision and east of North College Drive, then east into Kiwanis Community Park. Per the mandatory site visit meeting with WYDOT staff held on May 31st, 2023, WYDOT staff recommended that the city move forward on its own to complete the design and property acquisition as needed and to apply for the maximum allowable TAP funding, $1 million to construct the project this cycle. It also recommended, based on competition among applicants throughout the state, that the city should be willing to phase the project and consider receiving $500,000 in the fiscal year 24 cycle and then reapply in 25. Apparently, since they've dropped their match to less than 10%, it's gotten very competitive. So that's what this project is, what the contract is for, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Stand by, Jeannie. Question for Jeannie, Mr. Roybal.
When are we planning on shovels in the ground?
So the TAP grant was applied for last week. You guys approved that at council. I believe Monday. I applied on Thursday. It's been submitted. We won't hear back on that until I believe it's the end of October, early November. And then we would proceed in working out those documents with WYDOT. And then we're going to work on the planning design of it into spring. And hopefully if we get our TAP grant for that, it would probably be 25 before we started construction.
Any other questions for Jeannie? Okay, any comments from the public? Soon? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I would move to approve an amount not to exceed $108,085.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this agreement, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item.
Number 26E, intergovernmental agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Laramie County School District Number 1 concerning joint use of facilities.
Welcome, Mayor.
Welcome. Thank you, guys. Mr. Chairman, I'm Mayor Collins. For the record, this is an agreement we've been working on for a while. Seems like we have city facilities that were paid for by the taxpayers. The school district has facilities paid for by the taxpayers. And it seems to me the most logical thing we should do is share those facilities as our taxpayers for the benefit of the folks who paid for them. Examples, you know, Jason and our CRE team need gyms for our basketball, volleyball programs, things like that. The school district needs golf courses for their golf team, softball fields for their softball team, places to run 5K and 10K races. And it just makes sense to me that we would share those facilities. We've had a change of management, both at the city level and the school district level. And because of that, the school district went back and looked at their rules and regulations, and the rules and regulations say they need to charge for their facilities. And they're following their rules, and I appreciate that. So we've been meeting over the last year to try to come up with an agreement where we would share facilities at no cost to each other and prioritize each other's facilities. And that's what is before you today. And if you have any real technical questions, our staff is here to answer those. But I just wanted to explain the political reasons why I thought it was so important. Our youth programs are very vibrant, and since the school district has gotten rid of their elementary school athletic program, our numbers are higher, and we just need to make sure that we have access to facilities, and they also need to have access to facilities for their high school sports teams. And so it just made sense for us to be working together. I can answer any simple questions, and anything harder, Jason's here, and I'm sure he can help.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions from the committee? Dr. Aldrich.
Chairman White, through you, I just want to make sure I understand, and reading this, that it refers to attachment A for funds to be assessed. And then on attachment A, currently, for this current MOU, we're agreeing to offer our revenue generating facilities at no fee, and they're agreeing to the same. And then in the future, this is the piece that would be negotiated as this attachment. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's right. We do have some revenue generating facilities as they do, but it just makes sense if we're being fair with each other, be able to trade facilities. And at the end of the year, the value should come out pretty close to each other.
Just a follow-up comment. I really appreciate your hard work to negotiate this, because I think it's in the best interest of our entire community. So thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, taxpayers are paying for this stuff. We ought to use them maximum benefit for everybody.
Agreed. Thank you. If there are no other questions, comments from the public? No? Okay, do I have a motion from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Chairman, I would move to approve by substitute dated July 14th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend by substitute dated July 14th, 2023. Are there any comments on the amendment?
Just a question.
Mr. Roybal.
Perhaps we could get an explanation of what the amendment is, and what's changed on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, Jason Sanchez, Community Rec and Events. One of the changes that we had discussed was eliminating the 30-day cancellation period and extending that to 6 months. That'd give us an opportunity to complete a program that we were currently in instead of having to just end abruptly. There were a couple minor changes, I believe, between the two attorneys' offices, but that's the most substantial.
Any other comments on the amendment? Hearing none, do I have, okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. The amendment passes. We are back on the main motion as amended. Is there any comments on the main motion as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor of the main motion as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That moves forward as amended. Next item, please.
Number 27A, consideration of bid number E-27-23 for the transfer station lift station package and equipment solid waste front fund.
Good afternoon, Adele Bartel, Public Works Staff Engineer. We only received one bid from Russell Industries for the total of $127,451.40. This package includes lift station itself and all the necessary equipment. It does not include installation or removal of existing equipment, which will be covered under a separate bid. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Stand by. Questions from the committee. Dr. Aldrich.
Chairman White, through, I just want to verify that total bid award is $127,451.40.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve an amount of $127,451.40.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this big consideration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item.
Number 27B, consideration of bid number E-28-23 for the compost facility waste hauling project from the Solid Waste Fund.
Staff report.
Morning, Sam Quattrini, landfill manager. We received only one bid for this, and for the cost of
It's okay.
$112,900. Sorry.
All right.
I'm not very good at public speaking.
That's quite all right. Neither am I.
$112,900 for this bid. And I'm happy to answer any question you may have. Sorry about that.
So just for clarification, this bid is for $112,900.
Yes.
Any questions from the committee? Mr. Escabel?
Sorry.
Oh, that's quite all right. If there are no questions, comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve an amount not to exceed $112,900.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward. We do have three other items on our agenda today, and so we will get to those now. Go ahead, Jen, and read the first one into the record, please.
A resolution expressing the support of the governing body for the Board of Public Utilities application to the Wyoming State Loan and Investment Board for funding through the Local Government Project ARPA Grants Program for the Drinking Water Disinfection System Conversion Project in the amount of $4,463,000 and authorizing the Director of the Board of Public Utilities to execute the application and all related documents.
Is there a staff report on this item? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Sarah Bargson, Board of Public Utilities. As the resolution title was read, we are proposing to submit an application for the Local Government Project ARPA grant to the SLIB state agency. The staff proposes using this money to construct a sodium hypochlorite generation at the water treatment plant, and factors driving switching the disinfection method from the current chlorine gas to this sodium hypochlorite system is number one, safety. Storing and using chlorine gas containers creates respiratory and contact safety risks for staff, and in the event of a large leak, people and the environment can be affected. As Cheyenne grows to the west, more people could be impacted by chlorine gas release, and switching to hypochlorite disinfection reduces these risks. Number two, chlorine cost. While chlorine gas is the most effective way of disinfecting water, chlorine prices are increasing dramatically. And during COVID, there was a supply chain issue that was presented. Number three, water quality. The 2020 blending study identified that switching from chlorine gas to hypochlorite would reduce the amount of sodium carbonate operators that would be needed to add the water to adjust the pH. And lastly, the hydroelectric generator can be used, that is just brought online recently. You may have seen the news, and this can be used to run this system. There are financial considerations. There was a recent bid and scoping of the project, and we estimate that the $4,463,000 would cover a portion of the total project. We are currently in the bid phase and would be ready to, the project's been scoped, we'd be ready to bid and get going on that once we have the funds secured. So the recommendation is to approve this resolution so we can go forward with the application for the ARPA grant. And if you have any technical questions, Frank Strong is here. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Thanks, Sarah. Stand by. Questions for Sarah. Dr. Aldridge?
Chairman White, through you. First and foremost, thank you for being forward thinking, because I think that the chlorine gas issue does present an environmental issue as we move forward and with development. But I'm curious, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this, or maybe Renee Smith, who's in the audience, would be able to answer this as well. How many open applications are we allowed to have before the SLIB board, or is there a limit? And are the BOPU applications competing with the City of Cheyenne applications?
I'll start, Chairman White, through you to Dr. Aldridge. This application will be submitted by the Board of Public Utilities as an eligible entity as a joint powers board. And so in that regard, we will not be competing with the city. And number two, it's a water project, which I understand Renee is submitting an application for a type of project, but I'll turn it over to Renee.
Renee Smith, Grants Manager. Mr. Chair, through you, Sarah basically laid it all out. They're opening up 4 different grant cycles. If it went under the City of Cheyenne, we would have to prioritize our projects. But at this point, we have ours. We think we're okay. The feedback we got from the SLIB staff, because there's separate pots of money. There's $10 million in our pot, and I think there's 15 in your pot. So I think that separation speaks in our favor.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, through you.
Mr. Escobar.
I had a question about the emergency shutoff valves. Do we have any information yet about the requirements for backup shutoff valves? I think they have to have 2. Am I correct?
Frank Strong with the Cheyenne Board of Public Utility. Backup valves on which facility are you talking?
On the tanks themselves?
The tanks do have a safety procedure associated with them. I'm not familiar with it verbatim. I know we are compliant and meet the current standards. The issue is that if we do have a rupture, that chlorine gas could potentially make it all the way to FE Warren.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Hearing none, comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions from the committee or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item, please.
Thank you. Letter B, resolution authorizing the submission of a local government project ARPA grant application to the State Loan and Investment Board on behalf of the governing body for the City of Cheyenne for the purpose of land acquisition of blighted property on 15th Street for the development of low-income housing.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Renee Smith, Grants Manager. Again, thank you for letting us kind of squeeze this in and other business. We're excited about this project. So SLIB is opening up another round of applications. Local government, affordable housing is the category that we would like to propose this project. We would like to work with Habitat for Humanity. We've identified some land on 15th. And the way the affordable housing ARPA model is, they're modeling after HUD. And so this 100% meets the criteria for using ARPA money to purchase this land for future development. So this is sort of an example of kind of layering that funding for maximum benefit. So step 1 is land acquisition. So we are requesting it. We just got the appraisal over the weekend. It's $900,000. The resolution we had asked for up to 1.2 million. So we will be going into SLIB for the ask of 900,000 based on the appraisal. But Habitat for Humanity has additional funds that they are using as match money to help increase the favorability of our, it's done on a point system. For how we're awarded. So we are trying to maximize our points. This is due August 4th. Again, this will be a project that's going to take multiple years, but Lonnie Olson is here from planning. If you have zoning questions, and then Dan Dorsch is here from Habitat if you have specific questions about the project. But for the purpose of the grant, it's specifically land acquisition for that area on 15th Street in front of Habitat for Humanity. And I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, Renee. Stand by. Questions for Renee? Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you. I was just there on Saturday and I'm curious, how many units do we think that land would support? It doesn't look like it's very, do we know what the acreage is on it? It doesn't say that in this application.
It's 2.7 acres. So it's on both sides of the street. So the idea is on, and Dan can speak to it. And as soon as I get the application actually finalized, I will send it to you. So you are fully aware of what the scope of the project, but there's 2.7 acres. And so there's just there's two different models that we're looking at. The ideal model would be sort of like a mixed use housing on one section. And then the other housing would be maybe in addition to some other neighborhood amenities and housing. So we're saying 40 to 60. Depending on once we do, it's going to need an environmental, it's going to need. So there will be some multiple federal grant opportunities for this project to basically determine the extent of what we can. But right now we're saying at a minimum of 40.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, comments from the public. Welcome, Dan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Dan Dorsch, Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity of Laramie County. The land that would be acquired through this grant would provide affordable housing in a neighborhood that desperately needs revitalization. It is blighted right now, and our goal, high in the sky vision, is to have affordable housing in a mixed income community that highlights 30 to 80% of the AMI spectrum. It will utilize public-private partnerships. It will utilize a way to highlight how affordable housing works and how the housing continuum works in our community. It will allow, hopefully this will be a catalyst for some more revitalization in the area and be an example of how developers and builders can utilize infill and blighted property in Cheyenne. We all know the cost of expanding our city out. We need to think of being about building up instead of rather out. So with that, I stand for any questions and I stand in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any comments or stand by? There may be some questions a bit later. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I'd move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from the committee? Mr. Roybal.
Just a question on, because I know where the Habitat for Humanity is, but are you talking about across the street where that, I think it was Powers Builders, the cement plant was?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Roybal, yes. So our Habitat offices and Restore right now is on the south side of 15th Street. This property stretches from Van Lennon to Russell on the north side of 15th Street. Correct.
Okay, that's an undertaking, but
it will be, but we're really excited about the potential and the opportunity, like for the previous comments I mentioned before.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Escobar.
Are we still restricted to a minimum of 4 stories on apartment buildings?
I believe I'll let Lonnie answer this. Lucky you, Lonnie. But I believe the restriction is actually 3 stories.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Escobar, that is correct. Right now, for new multifamily developments, there's a height restriction of 3 stories. Now, there was a recommendation in the Affordable Housing Task Force final report back in October that we presented to the City Council that there's a recommendation for the planning department to eliminate that height restriction. Now, we're not talking about, are there going to be 80-foot or 80-story skyscrapers? No, but if you could even add a 4th or 5th level to new multifamily, the amount of units that could be added to the stock that we need would be huge.
Mr. Roybal.
Just is it the city that restricts that? Our restriction?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Roybal, yes, my understanding is that as the UDC has restricted it to 3 stories.
Okay.
Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you, I guess my understanding has always been that it's based upon our available fire equipment and public safety, and that's one of the reasons why we have height limitations on some of our buildings.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Dr. Aldridge, my understanding is that with the public safety, if you go above 3 stories, then you're required to add a sprinkler system. So it's not like it wouldn't be addressed. It is addressed in the fire and safety codes. Also, there could be a potential, or not a potential, there you need to add elevator access after that. And I have been told that is a cost prohibitive undertaking. But the fact that developers can't even do or look at it right now is a hindrance to our housing issues.
And that was also one of the recommendations from the folks at the Harvard Growth Lab too, I believe, that just came out a couple weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman, to you. Yes, it was a recommendation of the Harvard Growth Lab's Pathways to Prosperities project. And if you remember back in May of 2022, it was also part of the recommendation from the Denver University Engineering student capstone project. So 3 entities have made the same recommendations.
Thanks, Dan.
You're very welcome.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That item moves forward. We have one more item.
Letter C, resolution whereby the governing body of the city of Cheyenne authorizes a special Cheyenne Downtown Development Authority District election to be held October 18th, 2023, as provided by Wyoming State Statute 15-9-217B, which upon affirmative majority vote of the qualified voters within the district will authorize a special assessment of 20 mills upon real property within the district, excluding real property used exclusively for residential purposes for a period of 4 years.
Staff report.
Mr. Chair, Chris Jones, City Clerk. The City Clerk's office was made aware last week that the time frame was a little behind on getting this process started for the mill levy election. So I was able to work with DDA Director Tom to try to expedite this. That's why it's before you under other items. We will keep with the same schedule we did 4 years ago. But there will be some backfill documents that'll need to come from the DDA in order to make this work. And I feel confident that we can do that. I'm available for any, you'll see other stuff come through. We'll have, I think, 2 more resolutions and an ordinance involving the mill levy election. The city clerk's office is in charge of running that election. The Laramie County clerk is not. And I try to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Chris. Stand by. Questions for Ms. Jones? Dr. Aldridge?
I have questions, but I don't know if they're for her. So I'll just ask them, Chairman White, through you. I guess I've been hearing about this mill levy election for quite a while. And when we had our Friday meeting with DDA and URA, Councilman Laybourne brought this up. In fact, I think every time he talks about DDA, he talks about mill levy. I'm just wondering why now, why the urgency and why we didn't, I mean, if it happens every 4 years, the 2 previous items on our agenda, are grants and, they come up at the last minute, but this is something that comes up every 4 years. So why now?
Mr. Chair, through you to Dr. Aldridge, correct. The city clerk's office will initiate the resolution and ordinance processes once we receive a letter from the DDA. And I don't know what the oversight was there. The clerk's office is aware of our responsibilities, but obviously we didn't catch the timeline and didn't notice that we didn't have that letter from DDA. It's brought to my attention by Councilman Laybourne last week. So we rallied together with the attorney's office and DDA and figured out the schedule and the timeline, and fortunate for everybody, we are able to make the same time frame work.
I'm also curious, follow-up question, Chairman White, what is the amount that we expect this mill to generate?
Mr. Chair, through you to Dr. Aldridge, I cannot answer that question.
Chairman White to Council, Tom Gieberkevich, DDA Administrator. It usually runs per year about $190,000 or $390,000.
Okay, and another follow-up question, Chairman White. I understand that in order for this to go forward, there has to be a plan for the use of this money. In meeting with some of the downtown merchants, that there's a plan that's developed and then they have that information and then they vote for or against this mill levy. So I'm wondering if we have that development plan, and I think the question most commonly asked is there going to be a public forum for this plan to be developed? And if so, when that would occur, and if the council will be invited to attend.
Chairman White, through you to Councilman Aldridge. Yes, correct. We are in the process right now of doing scope work we're looking for a local contractor, to do this. And yes, we will have, part of that scope will be public and governmental meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Aldridge. Other questions from the committee? Hearing none, comments from the public?
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Pete Laybourne, and I'm here as a downtown property owner, as the chairman of the Reed Avenue Corridor Steering Committee, as a member of the DDA board, and as a member of the Downtown Cheyenne Business Collective. So very involved in this matter. And of course, city councilman for Ward 1 that includes downtown. So this is a really important element in what we're doing here. I am really of the belief that we've got a great story to tell, how downtown has changed and improved over the past 4 years. I think we also need to be sure that we're telling the story that the city's acceptance of the DDA board means that those expenditures are coming out of our budget, and they're definitely not coming out of the mill levy funds. That's really important. We look forward to being able to explain where those mill levy funds go and what they go for. It is a challenge to meet this deadline, but I'm sure all of you who run for office understand that when the time comes, you better be out there beating the street and telling your story, because it's very important. And so I certainly look forward to doing that. We're organizing a campaign committee to do that it isn't exactly public education, it's education of those property owners. And part of that is the education of those renters to suggest to the property owners that this amount, which is not insignificant, but gathered together has quite an impact, can really be beneficial to downtown. And certainly we're going to be talking about those grants that we've just awarded and how that is really important to downtown. And I also want to say that as a council person, I look forward to that opportunity to do something that didn't used to happen as a regular attendee of the DDA board meetings. I believe that better coordination can be achieved between city departments, and it isn't just the DDA, it is the downtown, and there are a number of factors that come into play with sanitation, public works, police department. And I also want to commend Mr. Sanchez here. We finally have a aggressive and hardworking clean and safe crew. So as we progress here, we can make sure that we involve people. I appreciate your coming to weed whack those weeds down on Lincoln Way with me in the morning, Mr. Chairman. But as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about telling our story. We have to win this election, and the way you win it is telling the story, because it isn't just the matter of the mill levy. It's the matter of all those resources coming together and all of those individuals being involved. And so I expect that we will be bringing forward more information to you, as has been suggested. There are steps yet to take, but and I do want to point out that the last one passed overwhelmingly, but in the past they haven't always passed, and elections are always have some aspects that might surprise us. So we look forward to communicating to you and the downtown community. I think that this is definitely that amount of money that, and we hope that we can demonstrate that mill levy has grown, that the assessments downtown have improved. So it's pretty important thing. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Laybourne.
Hold on, Pete. Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Escobar.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, through you. In the last election, was there a coordinated campaign by a group, or maybe it was just individuals against the mill levy?
I don't believe there was. I discussed this morning with Mr. Heimbuck, who was just came off the board after a couple of terms, who was very involved in that. And he and I went over that type of situation. No, it's not organized, but I think that we all know that people talk to each other, and certainly it's important that we identify and communicate to those individuals that are doing that. I look forward to seeing if we can find that file of that past campaign. I think it was mostly run by the DDA staff and board members. So they certainly convinced people to increase the mill levy and passed overwhelmingly. So I think we're in a good place. Does that answer your question? Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you. I appreciate the planning that is going to go into this effort. I don't think that any of us would assume in our current political environment that it's a guaranteed pass. And I think that we need to be out there advocating for this because it's really vital to our downtown area. So I'm hopeful that no one will rest on the thought that because we had a landslide victory last time of a 2-to-1 vote, that is necessarily something we can count on this time.
Thank you, Dr. Aldridge. I couldn't agree more. Other comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward. There are no other items on our agenda. This meeting is adjourned. I hope everybody has a great start to Frontier Days. Have a good day.